It's a long postcard, right?
Sounds good though.
Yeah, I'm kind of happy with how it's coming together. Are you a fan of Dead Prez?
The group?
Yeah. My brother's good friend, she was visiting when we were in Arkansas. She's a flight attendant, so she's from out in Cali, but she was talking about, she's sober, and she was saying that she's like, I was working on pre-show music, and she's like, have you heard the song Fucked Up? And it is insane. Like, he's sober. I think he's like Cali sober, but just like, any form of sobriety is appealing at this point, Yeah. Just to see it out in the world.
Just started, yeah. I also just started a live stream too.
But it's a great song. I mean, there's some really hard-hitting lyrics in it.
There's this one Mad Child does.
Mad Child?
You know who he is?
I've heard of it, yeah. I've heard of. Yeah, if you have any recommendations for like a pre-show song list that's kind of like
sobriety
fits the vibe, yeah. I could share my playlist with you too. Might be some bangers on there. Might be interested in. What did you say, Mad Child? Wake Up? Nice. Mad Child. Wake Up.
Christian, can I get a mic check?
I like your all's opening too. That's it's pretty hot. Welcome to the Most High Show. Song about recovery. Show about recovery.
Mic check.
That's groovy.
Yeah. It's dope.
Yeah.
It's like the whole song's about him just struggling with kicking opiates.
And is there like light at the end of the track? I guess.
No,
I guess the
it's
fact that
pretty
he's
real.
singing, he's
It's
alive and
pretty-
he's singing.
Yeah. That's
the
why I
whole
like
piece.
it because it's like not like propaganda. It's
Sometimes
like,
I struggle about that, like with our, with what we do, like just wondering. And I feel like, as far as the hope piece is like we're alive, we're on stage, we're talking about it, we're not hiding, we're not.
But you blow fake cocaine in the air.
Sometimes, well, not anymore. There goes the surprise. No, I think I might.
We're not started yet, but
Yeah.
that's why I was trying to avoid us talking because I know.
Oh
once we
yeah,
start
it's usually
talking,
it's usually good right at the top, like, and
I
then
know,
you're like,
I know.
so. But yeah.
No, I really like that one, and then
I'm glad you got to see it. That helps. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It says here you're funny. Is that true?
Tell us a joke.
Yeah.
yeah, no, and I think that's probably my first set I've ever seen someone do full
Recovery.
all recovery.
Yeah, I'm like OCD. Like I've come from sort of a school of like where it's like 20% of your act for a recovery comedy show should be about recovery, and I'm just like, because I started comedy in recovery, like that was everything I wrote. Everything's like somehow comes back around. But I'm happy with it. It is harder to write stuff about being clean. You know what I mean? Like it's I'm still fucking up, unfortunately, enough that there's comedy there, but a lot of it's more like mental slapstick.
There's a brown guy at the door.
What up? What up?
Me, Brownie.
Come on
What's
in.
going on, guys?
Wait, let me give him the call.
Bienvenue to the Most High Show.
Are your name Dora? Dora the Explorer?
What's going on, fam?
Dave, man, how you doing, bro?
What's up, dude?
What's up, dude?
Johnsy.
All right.
Nice to meet
Chauncey?
you. Johnsy.
Johnsy, okay, I got it. Can I get a 1-2? Can I get a 1-2?
Up 1-2.
1-2. Did you guys get started yet? No.
No.
You waiting for me? That's really sweet. 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. 10-9. 8, 7, 6. 10, 9,
1, 2 is
10,
too
9,
many.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off.
Okay.
I'm good.
All good.
It's a lot of extra stuff you got to do for 4, huh?
Yeah, it's a little more.
Never let him
I like
see
it.
you sweat.
Thanks for your answer.
Oh yeah.
Come through, bitch. I was running mad late. My bad, you guys.
Oh, he's straight.
Is this thing gonna be in the way too, or no?
It's good coffee. You make a good coffee, my friend.
Yeah, it's like,
I appreciate that. Dude.
thank you.
I gave you guys the fresh, and I drank the microwave.
That was very
Morning
giving of you.
coffee.
It's nice to have some
Thank
fresh
you.
every once in a while.
Thank you for your generosity.
Yeah, I figured you guys have been drinking AA coffee all the time. Need something that tastes
That'd be
good.
funny if like someone actually manufactured like expensive
Oh.
AA flavored like expensive coffee. that
Dude,
tastes
that's
like shit,
a
like,
great idea.
guaranteed to be too strong. And
Yeah,
Comes with powdered creamer in
This
it.
will
yeah. Yeah. And the urge to overshare. And
My name's
double
Dave.
dip.
My name's Dave. I'm not blinking. My name's Dave, and I'm blinking my eyes right now. But
Dude, we had to make an
I'm gonna say
announcement
this
at our
and
meeting
shut up,
to get
Brew.
the guys to stop doing double cups on the coffee. We're like, bro, you're not in a rap music
Oh,
video. Come on,
snap.
chill.
I don't know if that's going to look off because it's so much lower than the other ones. You might want to get it at the same level.
that's the fat cam. It's like, we look good in all
It's
the other
low.
shots.
Yeah, we're all like, we all look thin, and
Can we
man,
just
mine
like-
is
he's got
just like
him
right
like
on my belly. This
yeah.
shit is like right on my belly.
Wait. What am I doing? Wait, this button.
There was such a controversy at my home group because someone double bagged the coffee, like did a double.
Ooh.
And I was like, finally, like this is kicking. Boy, that was like a subject, dude. That came up. Then we were joking it was decaf, dude, and everyone's face was like, what? Like really serious about
Someone
that?
spiked the coffee with coffee.
Yeah, right.
We did a double bag though at one morning.
Yeah, we did a double bag.
Oh, that's good, dude.
My nephew hit me in the head with this toy with like a voice box thing. He's 5. But it's like this plush dog, and I see him wind up, and I'm like, oh, that's adorable.
Cool.
And he just goes whack, and it was like just cracked like a brick right on my head. And I swear, like, I haven't been like
same?
remembering shit
Oh,
like, straight
damn,
since like
You fucking got a concussion.
Kids are
maybe
brutal, bro.
right. I don't
Mine's
know.
an absolute
Probably too late to
monster.
do anything now. What's that?
My kid's an absolute
Oh,
monster.
how old
bro.
is he now? Like 2 or 3?
15 months old.
15 months.
Yeah.
Just moving around.
1, 2,
man,
mic check.
running around, no problem.
We're
Wow,
recording.
dude. And he has this little mini wooden bat they got from the Braves game.
Little Louisville Slugger.
Dude, doesn't mess with pacifiers, blankies, stuffed bears, but you take that bat away from him and he'll scream.
That's awesome.
That's
So
awesome.
he's swinging it. I got red marks all up and down on my walls. Cool.
Okay.
I feel like I'm taking a test in high school. I'm trying to like get
Yeah,
out my
what
notes.
are you doing
I'm
over
not
there?
gonna read it. I'm just trying to articulate, I'm trying to articulate my thought. This is my brain off drugs.
Give this man some cocaine.
Why don't we just we'll just like do a cold start, and then I'll just come back around and start the. Yeah. I wanted to pick up with me and John C.
Mm-hmm.
Does everybody say your name back to you a couple times?
Dude, I've heard every single iteration, spelling, like,
Yeah.
man, so many ways incorrectly. Like, I stopped correcting people when I was like 12.
Oh, okay. You just
Yeah.
roll with it.
Yeah, and then, of course, like, I gave my son the gift of having the same name as me.
Nice.
So now he can go through it his
Yeah.
whole life. But I thought I was getting a T-shirt just like with the phonetic spelling, and like
There you
selling those at all the shows. Just so like, dude, I've had so many people like bring me up on stage and they're like, "Oh, Gen Z Pitts," and I'm like, "Cool, man, thanks."
Gen Z Pitts?
Yeah.
It's me, Jensen.
I always thought it was John C. Like, we use our last initials a lot.
Oh,
in
okay,
certain
Oh yeah.
secret societies.
Oh, I've had people spell it out like that, and yeah, I mean, all sorts of ways I've seen it. Yeah,
It's a very unique name. I guess it comes out of John, I guess, right?
Well, actually, there was this guy that was friends with my grandpa, like taught my dad all like the cool stuff of like, how to drive a car, hunting, and real like country boy can't survive type stuff. Like they grew up in Thomasville and by Lake Seminole, so
boy.
like real country stuff, right? And and then and him and his wife Myrtle, they would like they
Oh,
planted
that was my
peanuts.
great grandmother's name.
Yeah,
Myrtle?
dude, she was the best.
Murder them.
I see her like
Jamaican.
plowing her land at like 85 years old, man. Like,
Whoa.
yeah, but so he passed away, but yeah, I got named after him. So
John's.
Yeah, I bet you that you think that might have been his like nickname.
no, well,
Johnson, come over here, boy.
I
Where you
did learn that
been,
he
huh?
spells it differently.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, like at my grandpa's funeral, I met all of his kids, and they saw me like in the little program or whatever, and they were like, "Yeah, you know, like they're all staring at me too. They're like, oh, you're our dad's namesake. Like this is weird."
yeah.
And I'm
Yeah,
like,
that
"Oh
is
man, I can't. I don't know if I'm living up to
Too
this."
much pressure.
Yeah.
Thomasville, man. I went to an event in Thomasville, and it was like a rich people event. I'm not gonna say the organization, and it was a trip, dude. Because I grew up in California,
Yeah.
so it's in this old building at the top floor, and everyone in there is white, and all the people
White
serving
sheets
are
with
black.
white covers over
and
their
I'm
face.
like, what the hell? Where am
I'm not gonna name the name,
I'm not gonna name the organization,
but
but
if your
it's got
bed sheet
3
has 2
letters.
holes in 'em-
Right. It's different down there, man. It really is.
It is, but like that was kind of like my first real glimpse of like, oh wow,
Yeah.
like this is like a real thing. Like I don't think anyone in the room was feeling racist. I don't think, but for me, it was just whoa. I'd never seen like that kind of dynamic.
So
lack
wait,
of
you wound up at a
It's an
fill in the
event.
blank rally?
Yeah, somebody. No,
that was the
no,
joke.
it's a reputable organization. Yeah.
No, I think you need to clarify because people like me at home might not know what the
Yeah.
blankety blank you're talking about.
Right? No, it's not. It wasn't like a Ku Klux Klan rally. It was. Yeah. No, it was a nonprofit organization, and they were doing this thing down there. So,
All right.
yeah, I don't want
So
to throw them under the
what
bus.
was it? What
Comedy's
about the-
hard, guys.
What
Comedy's
about
hard.
it was like that surprised you about hanging out with the people? They were wealthy. Was that the big
Well, one thing, they're all wealthy,
Yeah.
and that kind of different kind of wealthy,
Yeah.
right? It's like the money where it's like
Old money?
you don't dress like you got money, but you
Right.
like that kind of
okay,
money, you know.
okay. Yeah.
And then all the help was all. And it didn't help. We were in like an 1800 building.
So it was a plantations.
They had
feel.
the slave stairs in the
Yeah,
back and everything. I mean, it was
right.
weird.
Oh.
It was. But for me, growing up in California is like, at least my experience was, we all grew up together, everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's how Atlanta is.
In the city, yeah,
Yeah. Because like my dad, they weren't those rich people. Like they were dirt poor.
Yeah.
And so he was like, all right, I'm out. Like I'm taking my kids and I'm getting out of here. And so that's what we grew up around here.
Okay.
Yeah.
What a way
I
to
grew
start.
up- yeah, was that?
What a way to start. Like,
Yeah, right.
racial tension right off the
No,
gate.
but I get that though. Like, what a culture shock coming from the West Coast
Yeah, it was a
and
culture
coming
shock.
up into some Southern wealthy folks.
Yeah.
And hanging out at the iced tea party.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I get that.
Not the
Big
rapper.
time. Yeah. No, actual iced tea.
Yeah. Where'd you?
So
grow up,
I'm
Richie?
from Upper Marlboro, Maryland, in PG County.
Oh shit. Okay, Fairfax.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like very like culturally diverse. It's now like considered the most affluent African American community in the country once we moved. But no, it wasn't like, it was still very culturally diverse growing up there back in the day, but it's and then moved to like I won't like put this place on blast, but I moved like not too far away, but it was like severe culture shock. Like it's you got the north and south, and like Maryland's kind of like right in the middle.
Right.
But then you have people like right around there feel like they got to go above and beyond to like pick a side, as if the Civil War was still going on, to like try to be like extras, what they almost stereotypically Southern. Whereas if you get like down to like my experience, like North Carolina, and the parts of Georgia I've been, Nick, I feel like people are just more relaxed and chill and cool, and whereas like they're like people like you would have thought I moved there from Compton, like like
Yeah.
like I'm from 3 hours north of you guys, like but that was a culture
But it's
shock.
big difference.
It is a big
Yeah, big
difference. Yeah, I
difference.
mean there was definitely cool people that I vibed with in like the artistic community and stuff. But like I moved when I was 13, and by the time I was 15, like I had an exit strategy. Like
Okay.
I ran away and joined the circus to be a clown. So my comedy
Wait a
career.
minute.
That is so cool.
Is that real?
Yeah, it's real. Like the
At
truth
15?
is, when I was 15, yeah, I saw Cirque du Soleil in I'm blanking on the name of the place, but Tyson's Corner.
Okay.
Tyson's Corner. They had like
They had like the
Soleil's
Civic
first
Center there
tour
used
there.
to be, or what else used to? Yeah, I
And
know what you're saying.
and so I was like really inspired, and I moved there, and it was like super boring, super just like and so yeah, like my plan, I started street performing, like because I was inspired by Cirque du Soleil. I taught myself how to walk a tightrope. I was obsessed
Amazing.
with Chaplin and
So when you mean clown, you don't mean
clown,
like
yeah.
Yeah,
face
he's a
makeup?
Circus Soleil
More
clown.
like a character clown, like think like Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, Marx Brothers.
Okay.
Slapstick, kind of like.
not like that one clown that gave everybody a payday and then murdered them in the.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, clowns get a bad rap.
Homie
sorry.
the clown. Homie the clown.
I got to stand up for clowns. I got to stand up for vans. I got my work cut out to me
Dude,
today.
I was just watching this thing about like the college that clowns graduate from.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's a higher education. Like you get that degree, you're a legit like clown. I think that do you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
Ringling Brothers
Yeah.
had in Sarasota and then Baraboo, Wisconsin. I auditioned every year in like middle and high school, and then you couldn't join until you were 18. And then I think I auditioned for an acting school in North Carolina at the same time. Well, I know I did, but I got into the acting school. My first year clown teacher, my first year acting teacher was a clown from Moscow. So I kind of got the best of both worlds.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? So people say like, how long you been doing comedy? I'm like somewhere between 10 years and 30 years. You know?
That's
Right.
wild.
You got to be more specific. Stand up, yeah, about 10 years.
Okay.
But yeah, the joke is like, I was gonna run away and join the circus. My parents found out, and they're like, no one's gonna run away and join a circus in this house. We'll drive you.
Oh.
So the truth is, my mom and grandmother actually wound up like driving me and dropping me off in Connecticut with the circus, and it was love. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like, I'm grateful they kind of supported me in my.
So
Crazy
your teacher was
whims.
a Russian clown.
Yeah, Yuri Belov, rest in peace. Yuri Belov gets the smell off. That's my friend used to say. Yeah,
Well,
he was dope. He was actually, I'll just say this real quick. He was Robin Williams' clown coach in Patch Adams, the movie.
Damn.
And
resume.
there's a movie called Moscow on the Hudson, and he's in it, and it's roughly biographical about him because he actually expatriated from Moscow when the circus was in the U.S. And he, lastly, his protege, Leonid Yengiberov, was like the Russian Charlie Chaplin. But there was a lot of racism against him because he was from, I want to say, Armenia.
Oh yeah.
And so, and he was like this amazing performer, and he did this bit where you're familiar with like the rolla bola where people balance on this like cylinder, and he kept going up to like 5 high, and each time he got higher he'd pull out like a medal, and then he'd like fall, and then he'd like put the medals back in, but the crowd is like just adoring him. And then he had these 2 clown characters dressed as like, I don't know if Cossacks the right word, but like kind of like their military police or whatever, just standing like stone faced
The whole
to
time.
show as a juxtaposition. So even silently, he had a lot of, I guess, political sway. And so it's actually purported that he was sabotaged by the KGB through alcohol. Like backstage, they'd be like, great show, have another shot. And he became alcoholic, and it really kind of messed up his life.
Whoa.
So,
What a
yeah.
story, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Dude, they need to make a movie on that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of making like another Snow White.
Exactly.
Or another
Check
Marvel
out
movie.
Moscow on the Hudson, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty
I
tight.
know I've heard of that movie. It sounds very familiar.
You ain't heard that movie.
I heard Moscow on the Hudson. I heard me some
He's
Moscow.
heard of the
on
Hudson.
All right. I remember.
Moscow. Nah. It was a pretty popular movie, I think, yeah.
All right. I have this poem I put in here
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I think it's appropriate. Have you ever read this poem? You ever heard of it? The Rumi poem?
That's
All right.
Rumi?
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is a Rumi poem. We're sitting here today. We have a couple comedians with us, which is awesome, and we're going to be talking about a lot of different stuff. But I want to start with this poem, and this is by Rumi, and the title is "Someone Should Start Laughing." I have 1,000 brilliant lies for the question, how are you? I have 1,000 brilliant lies for the question, what is God? If you think that the truth can be known from words, if you think that the sun and the ocean can pass through that tiny opening called the mouth, oh, someone should start laughing. Someone should start wildly laughing now.
I like that.
I think I finally got it. Like that's the fourth time I've heard it. I was like, oh man, where's he going with this? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like some deep Bible cut or
Right.
what, man. But that's fresh.
Dude, I'm getting really cultured here, man. Like, my dad's from Thomasville, bro. Like, I had a Fulton County education, dog. Like, you know what I'm
Break
saying?
out the roomie on you.
I'm really learning some stuff here tonight.
He's over here Googling roomie. It's
I don't
spelled
even know
two
what
O's.
I don't know.
I thought Rumi was like that dude that lived in your house in college. You know?
Right. Right.
Oh man.
So our guest today is Richie Satori. Richie is a person in long-term recovery, comedian, and the only guest to correct the grammar on my show notes. He is spearheading the Stand Up for Recovery Comedy Fest. Stand Up for Recovery aims to showcase the nation's best comedians in recovery for audiences in recovery and allies too. We take recovery seriously while trying not to take ourselves too seriously. Humor and laughter are healing, and recovery is so much better when it's fun. And Richie brought John C. He's a fellow comedian and person in recovery. So welcome to the Most High Show, guys.
Thank you.
So
Thanks
I
for
was,
having us.
I think in the pre-interview, Richie, I was telling you how I worked with comedians for like a long time, 20 years, and worked with Steve Harvey for 11 years, and we used to do all the booking for BT Comic View.
Dang.
So we would travel all around the country to all these just hole-in-the-wall comedy spots, and we'd just bring and this is back in the day, we had a VHS camcorder, and we would record these shows, and then we'd take the tape back, and Steve would watch the show and kind of pick the comedian
Amazing.
to move on to Comic View, which, for those of you who might not know, BT used to have this show on called Comic View, where a lot of black comics, like, it was like the main place where they could get national recognition. And so I got to see a lot of different comedy and comedians, and one of my clients is now a longtime friend. He's a comedian as well, and so I love comedians, and I know David does too, and so it's really cool to have a couple legit dudes here with us today.
real.
So
For sure.
Yeah,
Thanks for
Back
having
to
us.
y'all, man.
and that you're using it as a form to kind of get this recovery message out there.
What a great angle.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Because like this, it's like kind of like, it's sort of inspired. Well, definitely inspired by like Rule 62. Don't take yourself so damn seriously. But it kind of almost the motto or philosophy of, take your recovery seriously. Just don't take yourself too serious. Kind of came from, it's not like I got an overabundance of feedback. People saying like, how can you laugh about something so serious? But it's just when you do hear certain things, it kind of like, well, if one person's thinking it, maybe other people are. And it's an important question to address. And I mean, yeah, it is,
We
heavy
had,
stuff, but you need, even more so, you need that outlet to laugh.
Right.
And it's not making light of it. It's,
Right.
it's a form of resilience.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We did a series of podcasts at this at the Rock Hope Dealers, and we had a couple guests on. And so as we're doing the thing, we're laughing because we're talking about history. And one of I think it was like a mother from this kid's past was like, how could you laugh about this? Like what he did to my daughter. And so that was like the first time I saw that, what you said, right? Which is like, how could you laugh about this? But to me, it's like, that's the only way we can deal with this heavy stuff that we've done, right? Like one of the only ways to do that is to kind of look at it and not take ourselves so seriously, to be able to move on past it. So that was a trip, and we had to
That's
kinda,
a hardcore
yeah.
confrontation right there to get
Yeah.
stood up by a mom.
Oh,
How
yeah.
can you laugh? My son did this to my kid,
Yeah.
that type of
Yeah,
thing.
that
That's
was a tough one
hardcore.
to
Yeah.
come back from.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I mean, what I found is that people in recovery have some of the best senses of humor, man.
Oh, yeah.
And I started doing comedy before I got sober, and it's the two groups of people, comedians and people in recovery, where you just have like an instant connection. Whatever it is, you're on the same like plane where you're just like, oh, I know you, even though I don't know you.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And like I remember when we were doing Not a Glumlock comedy, we were coming up with T-shirt ideas, and you know, we had several different fellowships at our clubhouse, and one of them was HA, and he says, "Well, we did a long sleeve T-shirt," and we said, "Of course." We did a long sleeve T-shirt, and everybody laughed. It was hilarious. But
In
like,
July, we did a long.
when you tell like somebody outside of recovery, they're like they don't get it, or they're like, "How could you laugh about that?" But like we all thought it was funny, heroin addicts and all.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Exactly. So let's
If
jump
we
into
can laugh about it, we can talk about it.
Amen.
If you can mock it, you can manage it.
There you go. I like that.
It's man, because for me, I was on probation when I my first 2 years, like after I got arrested, and I'm going to meetings and I'm hearing these things, you know, that are kind of like depressing truths, for lack of a better set of words to put together, and this kind of like, because like I said, I've been involved in the comedy arena since I was a kid, and so I've read biographies of like comedians and studied it as an art form, like etc. So there was just something clicked at the meeting. It was like, you know, I had my notebook and I was trying to write down stuff, and then I realized I had to do stand up.
Wow.
Because I was afraid to share at meetings. I thought everything I said could be used against me. I hadn't had my court date yet. I thought I didn't trust nobody. And I'm like, well, I can get up on stage once a week because I went to school for acting. I was able to petition the judge to say it was work related, say it was a writing class. And then if it did come up in court, I could be like, I was just kidding. But still, I think it's true. Like you're only as sick as your secrets. Pain shared is pain lessened. Great quote by MLK. I can't remember, but kind of out of the darkness type of thing. Like, I think that was like, hate can't drive out hate, only love can. But
Right.
it was another quote maybe. But yeah, like it was just very therapeutic because I had that ability to share on stage, even though I couldn't share at the meetings. But unfortunately, I think it wasn't quite enough. Like I would hear people share parts of my story at meetings, and I get some reprieve from that, and I got some reprieve on stage. But I had some, relapses, symptoms, some setbacks and stuff early on. But that's, recovery's not necessarily linear. Obviously, it's supplemental to my recovery, and there's multiple pathways to recovery. So I found it to be a helpful tool. It's kind of like journaling, you're dealing with all these emotions bottled up. And I was working at a recovery community organization called Rise Theater, which I still do part-time. And, they use art as an outlet to process emotions, which we've been numbing ourselves to, good or bad. And so they have, dance and painting and poetry and stuff like that. And I was bringing some improv and storytelling and humor into the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it as nothing but a creative, artistic form of expression when it's difficult just to talk about it. Mm-hmm. You do it in a comedy form. It's no different than somebody painting or singing or doing poetry. It's a way, it was an outlet for you. Maybe not enough, right? Like you said, you had to do some more stuff, but definitely a place where you can go and let that piece out of you that you were like wanting to get rid of while you're at the meeting, but you couldn't because of trust issues and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's good, man.
And the power of, just like when you watch a play or you listen to music or hear someone share or you speak or see a painting, like it connects with you on that emotional level and there's that connection, and it just feels good. It lets you feel seen and lets you know you're not alone. And I think it's therapeutic both ways. I feel like it can be for the audience as well as the performers. That's symbiosis that, we get at meetings and talk, just in everything, it's that connection piece.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the more popular comedians that was Theo Vaughn. I started seeing his stuff, and then he was sneaking in recovery stuff into it.
Rat King.
And he was the first one. Me and David actually went to, where we go, Charleston and seen him?
Yeah, South Carolina. Wow.
Yeah. But what's funny is I seen him at the Comedy Store in L.A. Happened to be, I was in L.A. and he was performing comedy. Him, David Spade, and a couple other people. And so he does his bit, and he's got these laughs that seem like they're real genuine, like he's laughing with you. and then those timings was the same thing in Charleston, and I was like, oh crap, this is a
part of his
freaking
bit.
act.
It's part
This is part of his bit.
Yeah.
That was kind of interesting to see.
Shh, no, it's totally off the top.
Totally
It was
off the
natural,
cuff.
organic.
Yeah, that
Right.
riff is
They're all
not the same
naturally
thing I do every
hilarious.
night.
Right. Yeah, that was a trip
That's
to
dope,
kind
though,
of
man.
Yeah. But he's the first one that I saw that was kind of like coming at it from that angle, but then also would talk about it in a vulnerable way through his podcast and stuff. And then it just kind of like, I think I see more people like John Mulaney just came out with a special
Right.
where it talks about his whole, going to rehab and all that kind of stuff. And he made like probably one of the most tragic parts of his life into a stand-up that when I watched it, I could relate to it. I enjoyed it. I had fun. I understood where he was coming from. And so it meant a lot to me to see that. And for him to tell the story in that way, I guess it gives it a different kind of framing than, this sad, like.
Right. I think it allows you to kind of own the experience.
Yeah.
Because like when I got arrested, it was in a small town, and like, you realize in those moments like how you're not just hurting yourself, and like how it affects family and stuff like that, and so like it's in the papers and blah blah blah. And I was like, well, people are going to talk about it, people are going to laugh about it. Like, why don't I beat them to the punch? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a story about Viktor Frankl. He was a survivor of the Holocaust, and I think the movie Life is Beautiful is based on his story with Roberto Benigni. Great movie. But so he's in the Holocaust based on a true story. But in his real life experience, he heard that they were going to start starving people to death at the concentration camp. So he made the decision to start fasting. And people died of starvation. But by the time, like 2 months later, the camp was being liberated, and not only was he still alive, he had the strength to like carry people out. So, I think by, it's just the power of the mind. It's like the first step, admitting something that everybody knows.
Yeah.
Like we were just
Okay, I'll admit it.
Yeah.
So by like
No one knew I was on cocaine. No
I'm gonna let you guys
one
know
knew.
something. I'm admitting something right now.
I didn't do well when an authority figure says don't do drugs, but
Right.
when I made that decision myself, for me, my story, like when I flushed this last bit down and it was my choice, that was very empowering. Of course, I can't deny a fact of a higher power has played in my recovery, and the strength I get from that. And we are in the Most High show, so like, and I know you.
Yeah.
So like, shout out to my HP.
Holla at your boy.
Gang.
Gang, gang.
Shout out to Theo Vaughn.
Well, I'm just thinking of funny arrest stories, and I'm not going to tell Kale's story, but he has a very funny
Which one?
arrest story. And what's even funnier is, my son, he's 16, and so him and Kale are buddies, and he's got the screenshot of his news story on his phone.
Oh,
We're sitting at dinner, and he goes, "Hey, Dad, have you seen this?"
oh no.
I said, "Let's wait till he gets his next chip before we show him that."
I'd still love to see my mugshot, man. I need
Oh yeah,
that 10-year challenge.
yeah. All right, so we kind of jumped on this a little bit about what about laughter feels so good, because we're kind of talking about that a little bit, and I've heard that laughter is like it's a kind of an involuntary reaction, right? Like you don't.
It's like choking.
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding. Bad analogy. It's like crying. Well, no, it is like crying. It's like they are so close. It's an emotional release, and they're both very therapeutic.
yeah.
And they also, there's so much like actual evidence-based studies on like the therapeutic value. It's like the best
Oh my god.
massage of your vital organs you
Right.
can have. It does release like healthy chemicals in your brain, that are, the come downs a lot better than dope.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I think that there is. It's. You're taking like. Help me here. You're taking like breaths of like oxygen when you're laughing, and But there's a guy who did a bunch of studies in the '70s and on the healing power of laughter. But it's amazing.
Yeah.
But
Well, we were. I know it's involuntary because I think Kale, you went down with me to the Laughing Skull, right? And this one comedian came out there, and he was joking. It was like, you can't joke about that, but also it's so funny. And so we're like trying not to laugh because it's like this is not okay to laugh at this, you know.
Those are the funniest.
They're
things.
they're the
But
best
it was-
things to laugh at.
I mean, me and him were looking at each other, just cracking up.
was
like,
he in on the joke? Was
Huh?
was it his intention to get laughs when you were laughing, or was
Yeah.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he knew he was on that edge, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, yo, you can't. Like, this is not a thing you joke about.
If you're not pissing a few people off, I mean, like my brand of comedy, people don't get mad at. I just kind of tell stories about my silly life. But a lot of like the great comedians out there, if you're not making somebody mad, if you're not making somebody walk out, you're not really pushing it far enough. And I've had a few of those bits where people are like, "What are you talking about?" But yeah, I mean, laughter is like the best thing. Like, I mean, it's such a nostalgic thing for me. Like with my brothers and sisters, like I'm one of 5, and it's every time we get together, it's busting each other's balls. It's joking, it's laughing. We're that family in a restaurant where you're like, wow, will they please shut up?
Yeah.
Like we're that family, but it's like it's jovial, and it's like those are like some of the best memories I have is just, or like with my buddies of like laughing about silly stuff that doesn't make sense to anybody outside of that group. But it's something that like we can text each other one word and then I'm laughing out loud and I try to explain it to somebody else and it just doesn't make sense.
You got to be there.
But it's great.
But that's like me and David laugh a lot when we hang out, and it's like that's my favorite people to hang out with is people who make me laugh, you know. Right. And like I think for a long time when I got sober, you know, it was hard to get to laugh again, right, or to cry, like, you know. So then I think I had a conversation with an old friend, and I'm just busting up, and we're on the phone, you know, and I got that sides hurting, you know, your mouth, your face is hurting because you're smiling and laughing so hard. And I remember that being the first time that I really actually like had that release of an emotion in recovery.
Yeah,
I was afraid I was gonna lose that when I got sober. Honestly, like I was like, oh, I'm gonna be this buttoned up Ned Flanders type dude wearing a sweater vest. My life's gonna be so boring. Yeah, like I'm not gonna have any fun. And I've had just as much, if not more, belly laughs in recovery with people in recovery, being sober and just being silly. Like I say, having a silly goose time. We're out here having a silly goose time. Silly goose conventions in town. I'm the keynote speaker. You know, like just being goofy and yeah. I mean, it's just such a great time. And like I was so afraid I was gonna lose myself, who I was, and then I realized like no, who I am is going to shine brighter because I'm sober. Like I've been dulling my light with drugs and alcohol, right?
Right.
And now I can actually, one, remember my jokes, and two, just like be present in the moment.
Yeah. You become, I like to say we become who we are.
Right.
Right? Like who we really are. It finally gets revealed. Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing to witness.
I remember
you got no excuses for who you are too.
yeah, that's right. Can't blame it on the dope no more. You know, I'm just an asshole. That's it.
That's
You know,
who I am.
I remember, it was my first meeting. I couldn't drive. I'd ask my mom for a ride. It was pretty, it felt humiliating. And, you know, someone sensed the dis-ease, you know, and came up and tried to lighten the mood afterwards. And they were like, before I got in recovery, man, I was a flaming asshole. But now I got a sponsor. I work the steps and I go to meetings. Hell, now I'm just an asshole. And I remember it felt so good to be able to laugh.
like to diffuse
you know?
the whole tension, right?
Yeah, totally. It was exactly what I needed. And that's part of, you know, what inspired Stand Up for Recovery Comedy Fest was giving back the gift of laughter that recovery first gave to me, or, you know, returned to me, you know, because... you know, you can feel very much alone and like you against the world in early recovery, you know, and you know, possibly later too, you know, like we can't forget the long timers and in betweeners, but you know, as they say, like the newcomers are the most important, but just, to be able, cause I've talked to people about, you know, why maybe they went back out or had a relapse. And it was like, when I heard people, you know, say that they were bored, that really just kind of like was jarring, and it doubled my passion to try to create sober friendly events to do.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of great stuff going on, like National Recovery Month, family friendly, but a lot of times, you know, it's good to just go out as adults and have a good laugh.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, that's one of the things that why what we do is I felt like that, like there are so many of us in recovery who have that creative spark in us, and then, you know, it's not really fostered and invested in once you get sober. And so for me, it's like if you're creative and then you get sober and you don't have that creative outlet and you don't keep kind of like trying to be creative,
Yeah.
then yeah, getting high becomes a really good option, you know, because to me that creative process is such a divine thing that happens.
Yeah.
And so I like that. That's like what you're doing is like to help foster this creativity, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think it's important that creative people get sober and pursue their creative endeavors.
Yeah, if you're creative, if that's sparks joy in you, if that's a gift that you've got, you know, we all have our gifts. But absolutely, yeah, I think it's really undervalued, and you know, you see that in like the corporate workspace and stuff too. People think, you know, you got to like be like, you know, rule with an iron fist, and but yeah, something you said made me think of something I heard at a meeting back in the DMV area. And they were saying they heard that the same part of your brain that's occupied when you get high is also where you have spiritual experiences, and that really it's one or the other. So people use drugs to try to, you know, get to experience, like to get closer, you know, but that at the end of the day, they are mutually exclusive, which kind of makes sense. So like you're talking about, like if you have this creative passion and then, you know, you get clean, you feel like everything's going to be buttoned up and boring. You really need that,
That outlet.
yeah, that outlet. And I think, you know, being like spiritually grounded definitely kind of helps in that pursuit, you know, in a lot of.
It took me 6 months because I also make music, and
Nice.
when I quit drugs, I was making a lot of music, and then it took me probably 3 to 6 months before I could create music again, because drugs were such that kind of avenue towards that. It would shut. What I loved about drugs was it shut my mind off, so then I could just do and be, and so I could create. And so it took me so long, you know, that's a long time, 3 to 6 months, to be able to finally go, I remember like I woke up with a melody one day.
Nice.
I was like, oh, where did that come from, right? But I felt like I lost
That
it.
would be a good movie.
Yeah.
Just this Groundhog Day of just like white noise, and then all of a sudden you hear this melody come back. Man.
Yeah. The other thing I think, like, what I hear commonly among people in recovery is this outsider feeling, right? Kind of feeling like you know something about the family and about the place we're at that no one else knows, right? We kind of like, we have this intuition about us, and it can make us feel a little isolated. And I think comedy is kind of like this like way of observing it, calling it out, and then laughing about it, right?
Can you say that again in a different way? I didn't quite understand.
I get
Would you
what
want me
you're
to say it
saying.
in French or?
Yeah.
I get what you're
Parlez-vous
Yeah, I mean,
Tabernacle, Christ is mon tabernacle.
I think it was like what I was talking about. It was like you're on that same wavelength. Like comics and addicts are like that in the same way. But yeah, I mean, you're definitely. I mean, I can speak from my own experience. Like I felt like I was the only one that's got this darkness. I'm the only one that's like this. There's nobody who feels the way that I feel. And then I got in the rooms and I was like, oh, I am not that special.
Right.
Like, everybody, like whether, you know, how far down you are on the scale, right? Like there's different people. There's always somebody's got it better, somebody's got it worse. However, like we're all the same in that way. And I mean, that's like really what sparked my recovery and like what put me on fire for it was, oh, I'm not alone anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I don't have to go through this battle alone. But yeah, I've always been like, I feel like I look at my life in the third person.
Right.
You know, like I'm the main character of the movie, and that speaks to my ego, which I'm trying to work through with my program.
What's
But-
that director piece?
Yeah.
From Some
Yeah.
Pleasure
Yeah.
There. That's that. I was like, man, it's
Oh,
talking
yeah.
right to
Call
me.
it right out. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's like a score under my life all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah, that's how I always felt, and I still feel like that sometimes. But then I realized like, oh, it's not just about me. I can be of service to people. Like, what has been given to me, I can give back to other people. So like that feeling of being alone, like I can recognize it in somebody else, and like people, because like I used to be the same way where it's like the magnet for chaos came to me, and now I try to use that same magnet for good. Because like a stranger at a wedding or whatever, they got the bag, they whatever reason they look at me and they're like, that's
Yeah.
the guy I'm gonna party with tonight.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I try
You
to
can find
like
them. Yeah. At the end of the bar or whatever. We find our people.
yeah,
Yeah.
like you just know.
Yeah.
And like that vibration or whatever. And so like I try to use that same, I'm like, oh, like this guy's, going through the same thing as me. Or, vice versa, like they might have something that I need or can use.
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever that guy's got, I don't know what it is, but I want it.
Yeah.
And then I can give it away to somebody else.
Yeah. I think maybe another way to say it is like I for a long time had a hard time getting along with people who seemed to have their shit together.
Yeah.
Like I have nothing in common with you, because much of my life is about exposing my vulnerabilities. It's about exposing like where I'm, right? So in those situations, I would feel less than, right? Because here I am trying to be being me, which is, and then someone who has it together, I would think, okay, like I can't relate to you. But moving on in life, and as I've continued to develop, it's like now I know everyone's got some shit, right? Everyone's got something they're dealing with internally.
Yeah.
And so no one's really, it's the ones that fake like they got it all together
Right.
that'll make me feel very quickly like an outcast.
But the ones that fake that are the ones that are suffering the most.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You pointed out something when we were talking on the phone the other day, like that, like really everybody's, affected by addiction, whether if it's directly them or, 2 degrees of separation. And as much as I wouldn't mind not stepping in another like comedy club bar and just performing for people in recovery and alternative venues, like there's still people that, I think can benefit from getting that hope piece. It's like I've had some people come up to me and just like with these wild confessions, like
Really?
I'm addicted to chocolate, and this, that, and the third, and like,
Yeah.
and I think I've read once like where it's like from a Buddhist perspective, we're all addicted to something just to varying degrees, and especially now with cell phones and social media and stuff. But yeah, I to Chauncey's point, like. It's you can't like make everybody laugh. You can't please everybody, and it's nice when you can like. There's no better audience than recovery people, because we're people that like to have fun to a fault, and you take away our favorite thing, and we still want to have a good time. You know what I'm saying?
It's like
So-
everybody's itching for
Yes, like,
your
please.
outlet. Please give this to me so I can do something else besides go, yeah, today was shit, man. I'm suffering and shit. I admitted some stuff. I surrendered.
Right.
And I think what inspired me too is that at mutual aid support group meetings, I'm a certified addiction recovery empowerment specialist. So sometimes
so you
I
gotta use the
I use a
words.
little of the vernacular, even though we're far from clinicians or whatever, you know what I'm saying. But like we learn all the proper ways
I'm a
to say
person in
things.
long-term recovery. And what that means is it's been 10 years since I've had any fun. Yeah.
But I forgot what I was going to say. What was I talking about? Never mind. No.
Yeah. So the there's like 3.4 million people go to treatment a year. That's a
That's a sellout crowd. That's an
staggering.
arena.
Yeah,
You can
like
make
there's
that
a-
an
so
arena.
so you're like it's like where can you go, even if you're in those dim lit, dingy comedy clubs. It's highly likely you're talking to someone who is on some spectrum of recovery, whether they're contemplating it, they have someone they love that's done it. But 3.4 Americans every year go to treatment. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big audience. And like they say, like, I listen to a lot of podcasts from, the music industry about touring and stuff like that. And and whatnot. And they say in comedy, like, can take like 10 years to find your voice, and it can, like, find your audience
Yeah.
and stuff. And there's like a built-in audience right there. So, what I no, I think I was going to say is like, early, at meetings, like something that really inspired me to be a comedian was just like how funny some people were and not even trying.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so frustrating, but inspiring. It's like, what are they doing? They're being honest.
Yes.
And that's what comedy has allowed me, is to experience being honest.
Good comedy is honest.
Yeah, that honesty, I think it really is received better now. It's like known by audiences now that comedians do give you an honest outtake of things, and they're able to make it funny. If you look at all the forms of information given to our culture today, the outlets that are like really received well are from comedians. If you look at Russell Brand, Joe Rogan, Jon Stewart, like these guys are all strong personalities. They're able to deal with controversy. They're able to make light of it, expose it, and like not like look like a professor or like give you that, anchorman voice as they're telling this important information. They're giving it to you like what we conceive as real and honest. Like you believe that when a comedian delivers, and they're able to like really like, and I think it's part of a comedian's like personality is to really deal with controversy, to hold that stage down, right? It's just, and if you're bombing, so be it. I'm bombing, you know what I mean? If I'm gonna deal with, this heckler, I'm gonna deal with it. You're good on your toes, and it's just a great way for our culture today to receive like important information because of the honesty of comedians.
Right. And to that extent, real quick, like I've heard it said, never forget your bottom, never forget your last run, da da da. And so it took me like 6 years to craft a chunk I just call rock bottom. But I string together this series of events of what the reality of it was. Because I know as a, imagine your audience is in recovery, so I'll call myself an addict without being stigmatizing. But, as an addict, like, we can romanticize. Oh, it'll be different this time.
Yeah.
The insanity piece. So, like, by me, they say play the tape out to the end, and they need to update that. Like, I don't know. Skip the track to the end. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tell your remote control to go to the end.
Pull it up on Spotify.
Right.
Stream
Skip
Hey,
to the
Siri.
end of the playlist. Yeah.
But so, yeah, I have that. So it's very vivid of what the reality was. And, I'm able to find the humor in it, which is kind of that resilience piece,
Yeah.
and that can take time. I think they say, like, comedy is tragedy plus time.
Yeah.
So I was talking to somebody today, and they said perhaps John Mulaney's piece was maybe not enough time between it. I really want to hear it, and he's brilliant, and he's already got this platform.
I get that
so
critique.
I want to watch it and
get
see
that
that. But
critique. But it's also too how much time was it really? Because how news cycles come out and when did it actually?
Right.
I think it was like around COVID when. But there was something about his special that it lacked something.
Like hindsight, a little bit. Like,
Yeah, it lacked a little heart. I think but I think
But
that's
he's
his
that
style.
kind of comedian. Like,
Yeah, that's
he's
his-
not a comedian that like gets like you don't gauge his emotions. He's a very straightforward, dry, and when he's giving you this information, it's not from a most like heartfelt delivery.
Yeah.
You would figure, say, yeah, I wasn't fucking real. You know what I mean? He's
right.
like,
But
I
I'd
wasn't
like
re-
If he didn't address it, people would be like,
oh, you're drunk and you're not telling anybody.
right. It's like same thing with Louis. Like, you gotta address it. Like, you can't.
Oh, yeah.
You
Right.
can't not. You
Yeah.
can't dance around it.
Yeah. I love this idea of taking somebody who is in recovery and has an idea to try a comedy and how invigorating that could be for somebody.
and I feel like just kind of touching the iceberg. Maybe you can speak to that. And first, I do wanted to shout out John C. Like, he's hosted the Not a Glum Lot show at the old Freedom Club, and when I was out there working on doing my thing, people were like, "Oh, there's this other dude who's doing recovery comedy shows," and it was really cool to connect with him. And got to perform on his show, and so definitely shout out to him.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've had that experience with anybody like maybe trying comedy for the first time who's in the
I had
program
a lot
or
of people just from hosting the shows, and they were pretty successful. And a lot of people reach out to me like, oh, like, can I get in the show? And I'm like, hey, you come to this open mic with me. No one ever took me up on it, but I'm like, you can come to this open mic with me. Like, let's work through a few things, and and we'll craft a set, and I'll help you out. Like,
That's awesome.
I can help you skip a few steps,
Yeah.
which is like microphone placement.
Yeah.
Where to put the mic stand, like all these things that like
where do you put the mic stand?
I put it behind me because
you
I'm a stage walker. I'm a stage walker. But I mean, some people stand at the mic. Like some
Right,
people
right.
sit on the stool. Some people do different things. You got to kind of find what's comfortable to you. But those were those things that like I had to learn on the fly.
Right.
But I can help somebody maybe skip a few of those
Yeah.
mistakes and get a little bit quicker.
I could see how people might not want to go to a bar who's in recovery to try stand up for the first time. That's
Right.
something I'm passionate about.
I think
Moving
that would be
towards.
hilarious.
I've tried it. It's not. But I'd love to cultivate a space where we can, have a safe space, so to speak.
Yeah.
A sober venue to host open mics and produce shows. That's the long vision of Stand Up for Recovery, is to have like a Sticks and Brick sober comedy club in Atlanta. And
Christian you got a solid 10.
No.
You got a solid 10 minutes.
No. I
Come on,
think it's
dude.
3. I have a solid 3.
We were talking before the
still
podcast.
impressive.
He's like, how much you have? I said 15. I said, but for a long time I thought I had 30.
Yeah.
Till you get up there.
Yeah, and then I'm like, nah, half of this sucks.
Yeah. I've only done it for my kids, and I think I did for Kale and David. And yeah.
We have a pretty full lineup of sober comics. If I can remember everybody, we got Nima Williams, who's been on pretty much everything from the Apollo to Showtime to, I want to say, Comic View to on down the line.
So cool.
Yeah, Walker Hayes. She's from Baltimore. She's from the DMV. Super funny, and I've got to work with her up in DC. My friend Candace Saunders I helped her produce Sober Sundays in Washington D.C. for a little while, and Walker was on that, and then Taylor Neely's
Love
gonna.
Taylor.
Yeah, shout out to Taylor. So
He did one of my shows. He's so funny.
Oh man, yeah, he was great. I was at that show. He was hilarious. So and he hosts Sober Boys podcast, and yeah, man. So we got Liz Durr. She's
William
very
Childress,
funny. Williams Childress.
He's very funny.
Yeah, Dylan Toops.
So you got a lot of kind of accomplished comedians.
Yeah.
Who've been around and
And we got a
spitting that
long
game.
list of I got like a list of like 60 comics in recovery from all
Damn.
across the country.
That's cool.
Who I've been like trying to like keep in tune with, and the goal is we can move to a quarterly model, like every 3 months have a show, maybe at like a local RCO that has like a nice big space, like Grit and Grace or something.
yeah, why not?
And
Yeah.
then can be like, hey, there's this whole month. If you're going to be passing through to Nashville or Tampa, let us know. We'll build a show around you, and really just for our community, like, and they benefit from all these amazing comics, and local comics can participate, and also, I think our community will benefit, and I think the comedians who are performing in bars most of the time, like, will feel like a reprieve to be able to just let their hair down,
Talk to their people.
But yeah, definitely. Like I've been trying to reach out to the Rat King. I'd love to get Mulaney. I'd love to, Mark Maron. Like, the list goes on. Joe List and his wife in New York. They're about to have a kid, but would love for him to be a surprise guest at the show. I don't know. I know he's going to be kind of nearby, a couple weeks away. So I've been trying to like make some things happen, but just nurturing these relationships over the past 10 years.
You get Bobby Lee to get naked and be sober. And
Bobby Lee, of course, would be such a
There's so many
get.
sober comedians, which is
a
great.
big thing,
And,
man.
I mean, because it's become like accepted
Yeah.
and like an okay thing to do. Because like 80s and 90s, like 70s, 80s, 90s, you got like the Sam Kinnisons of the world and those guys. There was a lot of people that we lost, brilliant people. that we lost.
Tragically.
Right. And now it's like it's an okay thing to be healthy, fit, sober, take care of yourself, that sort of thing. And so like the longevity is good, and it's an accepted thing in our society now that, you know, it's still got some room, don't get me wrong, like
It does seem like the stigma has gone down in the past 10 years. Have you noticed that? Or it's I know in my perspective it's constantly changing too.
Yeah.
But maybe it was my own personal stigma and that I was reflecting. But it does seem like, you know, like that it's become cool to not be like a total F up, you know.
Right. Yeah, no, I definitely think I think the stigma's still there for sure. But I don't know how much, you know, we feel it like in pop culture. I think it's, and maybe it take a time for it to trickle down. But I mean, you have like a lot of like shows out, a lot of movies out, a lot of films that deal with addiction, deal with recovery. And so I think the more that art is kind of putting that out there, I think that kind of will trickle down to society. But I still
normalizes it, takes some of the shame away.
Yeah, but like we did a block party here for the neighborhood, and so we have our signs out, and we did free tacos. We had a big old bouncy house for the kids, and you know, a guy comes up and he's got his beer, but it's in one of them beer cozies, right? Which is annoying to begin with. Like, who does that? Anyway, and so
drink it faster.
Brown paper bag. Paper bag.
I know, right,
Man.
dude,
We get
come
paper
on.
bags.
I thought you're supposed to use a coffee.
But he's like, hey, is it okay if I have my beer here? And I'm like, dude, we're not like anti like alcohol, you know, like it's just I can't drink alcohol. Like if you can have that beer and then go home and not freaking call your dope man, then awesome, right? Because I can't. Like if I have a beer, I'm gonna want whiskey, and then whiskey goes way too good with cocaine. So
But that's your thing.
That's
you know what
my
I'm saying? That's
thing.
you. Like,
I
you
don't
can't
understand the
put that
meaning
on
of
the
moderation.
community.
I don't speak French.
right. Exactly. So it was like that was a cool interaction. But I think like the more that we do things like that and are out there, you know,
For
to your
sure.
point, like when you're playing in those bars and you're talking about recovery, it's kind of telling that story from a totally different angle.
And that's been a bit of an inspiration. Like last year, we were at the Punchline Comedy Club. You know, it's like a pillar of Atlanta. It's been around for 40 years practically. And this year being at the Atlanta Comedy Theater, which is like where Chris Rock and Chappelle comes.
Oh, I seen him on
the-
Chappelle. I seen Chappelle.
The
there.
new dude.
That was cool.
Who's blowing up right now. I mean, of course, he's been doing it for 10 years. Matt Rife. Like that was where he started comedy. So these are it's kind of like that recovering out loud piece, you know, and showing like, oh, we're functional members of society. You know, we vote, we pay taxes, we got cars. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, some of us can vote.
Yeah.
yeah, some of us are working on it.
Some of us have cars. Others borrow cars.
But that being said, you know, that's kind of part of the, you know, just reducing stigma, which I heard someone share recently. That stigma is just a euphemism for prejudice, you know.
Yeah. But I think stigma comes into play when people go, I don't know what to do with my son who's an addict. I think that's a stigma.
It's an
I think
ignorance. Yeah,
it's an ignorance.
It's an ignorance.
It's like that's still your son.
Yeah.
He's just a complete jerk when he's doing his thing.
Like you said, it's ignorance. I think, like, I've heard it said that, like, racism is a mental illness. Like, you know,
Right.
which I guess it's
Rooted in fear, just like all our problems
Yeah.
come from fear, selfishness, dishonesty.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. And I think that's where the stigma comes. And I think there are probably still a lot of employers who probably don't support that kind of stuff, you know. But for everyone that doesn't, I think there are a lot of employers who get it. You know, like a friend of mine has an organization, and he's got 4 or 5 companies that are proudly hiring guys from
That's
sober
awesome.
living. Because
I've heard about one of the stair place. You know about that place?
their place.
They build like stairs and like cabinets. It's
Oh.
right near No Longer Bound.
Oh yeah, you're talking about. I know the place you're talking about. They also do tables and chairs. And stuff
Okay,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just met someone who works there today.
Because what they found is someone who's serious about their recovery is actually
damn good worker.
Yes. If you
They're
put half
happy.
your energy you went into chasing, your
gonna be on
proverbial
time.
dragon into anything else you pursue, you're unstoppable.
You're gonna be, well, I remember when my boss sent me to rehab. He said, "If you're this good on cocaine, I can't wait till you get back." And I was like, "Well, it didn't go the way you thought," but because cocaine did actually make me. But anyway,
It took a lot less breaks though.
yeah, I took a lot less.
For some
breaks.
reason, your bladder got a lot better.
It was the Adderall during the day and the cocaine at night that did me in. That was the psychosis, and I could hear people going, "What's wrong with Christian in that studio?"
About the
over
third
there?"
day of no sleeping. Hey, he's crazy.
Yeah, or it was like, no more sleeping in your truck,
Yeah.
dude. Because I would break away to go catch a nap. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit. You brought up some of these comedians, but then this event is part of the Mobilize Recovery across Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay, so-
okay.
I'm not being facetious with this.
What the heck is it? No.
What the hell is it, and
Sure.
what good is
Yeah.
it doing? I don't
Okay.
understand.
Well, let's see. It's to be determined because it's the first year.
Yeah.
I don't think you can say first annual if it's the first year,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they're hoping to do it again. So
it's the
a lot
first
of people
one in Georgia, but it's been a nationwide thing
so
for a while.
Mobilize Recovery's been around since 2019. I went to the first one in Las Vegas, and then pandemic, everything went pretty much hybrid, virtual for the past couple years. And then last year they did a national bus tour and made like 21 stops across the country. And this year it's going to be in Washington, D.C. It's the same weekend as our show. I've been involved every year with that as a participant. And
But
and
what's
this
driving
year,
a bus around
Right,
the
okay.
town? How's
Fair
that
enough.
help?
Fair enough. So basically, what it is it's kind of strength in numbers. So there's 48 stops. It's highlighting. There's proclamations at different stops, whether it's national, recognizing. I think like National Recovery Month or the 31st this month is National Overdose Awareness. So it's bringing politicians in.
It's a campaign.
Well, I mean, it's a campaign. It's a grassroots campaign for recovery advocacy. They're distributing Narcan. They're just,
I got you.
things of that nature. They're just raising awareness. So, like, instead of one person doing one event, you've got 48 events who have press releases and coverage and stuff, and highlighting the fact that I think 800,000 Georgians are in recovery right now, and they're stopping at recovery community organizations. So it's shining a spotlight on them, and it's showing. I think the takeaway is to show the world, to show Georgia that
Sure.
recovery is real, that recovery is possible, reducing stigma or prejudice. And I think strength in numbers. Like I've called a local politician about fill in the blank, and it's like, okay, yeah, all right, thanks. But if I call and I say, yeah, I'm calling. I'm a member of the Voices Project, our Mobilized Recovery, the largest grassroots recovery advocacy movement in the country. Then they listen up. They get their attention, and then so strength in numbers. So it is put on, sponsored in part by the DBHDD, the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities.
Okay.
And I think these are bigger things that the funding kind of trickles down. The Clinton Global Initiative is involved. They've been passionate about
making a move
the
right now. They're
opioid
in everything.
epidemic.
Yeah.
They've been responsible for providing, oh God, I can't even know how many, like hundreds of thousands of like Narcan, across the country. So it's traveling all around Georgia. So it's the biggest recovery happening in the Southeast. So and they're hoping to just continue to do it. They're bringing a band. They're giving, they're trying to mobilize people like for, and they're distributing Narcan. There's going to be food, and it's letting kind of like the community know
Sure.
where they're at. Like, oh, there's this place. If someone needs help, there's this recovery community organization in
resources.
our
Yeah.
county.
Right.
There are resources. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's and I think it's it's also a celebration.
Yeah.
And
So it's kind of like the same
I
reason why
dig
we
that
did the
strategy.
block party. We
Yeah.
did the block party to
Yeah.
let people know in the neighborhood, hey, if you or someone you love is struggling, you got a neighbor here who can
Right.
help you.
You're not alone.
I can't fix you, but I can point you to some
Yeah.
people that could get you the help that you need.
There's
right?
resources out
Yeah.
there, and I think they're providing resources and tabling and at a lot of these events, and it's a lot of stuff for like family friendly stuff like that. I'm honored that I was asked to be an
Really
official
cool.
event for it.
Now,
shout
what's the
out
date
to
of your event? What's the
it's
date?
September 17th, which is a Sunday, and it's from 5 to 7 p.m. There's free parking there. It is in Norcross. They do have two locations, but this is the location in Norcross. So you can actually put in Google Maps, stand up number 4 recovery, and it'll pop up
Awesome.
there as well, which is cool.
And how much are tickets?
Well, so tickets are between 15 and 25, but then, like any tickets you get, there's going to be an exorbitant surcharge. And I wish there was something we could do about it. The best I could do was advocate for lowering the tickets as low as possible to make, the least barrier to entry for
Okay.
people. So tickets are 15. It might come to like 24 something with the taxes and the surcharge.
Right. So it's like a
It's like
cost
a normal
of a case of beer. You know what I
event,
mean?
or
Come
yeah,
on.
like.
Yeah.
But yeah, our
It's less than a
website,
Roxy for sure.
all of our information kind of funnels into standup4recovery.com. So standup4recovery.com, and we have a resource page. There's a little video on the front, our social media links, and would encourage anybody to please join our mailing list so we can stay in the loop about our next events and stuff. And would love to be able to offer more resources, like teach workshops and stuff like that. Have people like John C. and other comics, and just really kind of help.
So you
grow the
drive
community.
this bus into Norcross, right? And then where do you post up at? Is there a venue a big venue that you're going to outside
So we're going to
venue,
be
inside?
So most of the stops on the tour are outdoors. They got a stage. They got all this.
Yeah.
We're a small stop in that they don't have to unpack that. They're just going to come and relax. There's a documentary film crew that's going to be there that was with Mobilized Recovery last year. So they're going to get some little clips here and there. But they're gonna pull up in front. People will see it. They can sign the bus. The whole bus is wrapped. You can put your sobriety date, your clean date, whatever.
That's cool.
R.I.P. to
Put one of my,
anybody.
Yeah, put one
Skull
of your things
bones
up
in
there.
there.
Oh yeah, you got to come there and do a full piece. You got 45-foot canvas, but yeah. So
no, you won't make it.
Oh,
no more.
25 years, huh? Most
6 months. Yeah, we can cover that.
just for today.
So yeah, you'll see the bus when you pull up. Doors open at like 4:30. Part of the proceeds are going to go to the Heroes Initiative, which stands for, oh God, why'd I set myself up with that? Helping every responder offer effective services.
Damn, way to
So
go,
that
dude.
is providing Narcan to first responders. A lot of first responders don't have it.
Yeah.
And so they distribute it anywhere around Georgia
A lot
that's
of
in
police
need.
officers don't have
Some
it.
rural
Ridiculous.
areas,
Yeah.
but it does include parts of Atlanta as well. And so we're going to be shining a spotlight on them. Each show, we'd like to shine a spotlight on a recovery. Some people out there really doing the work, the hands and feet kind of stuff. And so yeah, for this one, every September we'll have our big event. And then, like I said, hopefully we'll have smaller ones, but still try to highlight different recovery community organizations. Last year, we raised money for the Atlanta Harm Reduction Coalition. Shout out to them. They're doing some great work out there. Like really, they're on the streets and really meeting people where they're at. And yeah,
That's
so
cool.
it's just like a blessing to be able to do that. And it's invigorating to feel like, I feel like I'm on my purpose, I've aligned. I don't really have a fallback plan from being on stage, but to be able to align that with my recovery. For a person like me, I need to,
Plus, you got some letters though. You got some credentials, right?
I got a little bit.
You got a
yeah.
little something going on. You know what I mean? Oh yeah. Yeah, you got what is it again?
I'm a certified peer recovery specialist and a certified
CPS.
addiction recovery empowerment specialist.
All right.
Care worker and a CPS. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's two great credentials.
I'm
Cool.
just a certified junkie. So.
I'm a dope fiend, man. Dave the dope fiend, man.
Well, this has been great. This has been a great conversation.
And shout out to the Georgia Council for Recovery. They do amazing work. They got great resources. They've been a supporter of the show, and they're
right,
the
breed
ones
love.
who do the CARES training. So,
yeah.
but yeah, they're a great resource broker
All right.
out there. Yeah.
David, you got anything else you want to add?
No, man, I'm just, I appreciate you guys being, I am a true student of that craft. I love comedy. You know, I'm such a laugher that it's like I use laughter as a defense mechanism. I use laughter, you know, when shit is funny, sarcastically. It's definitely been I've working on it being a defense mechanism of mine, because that's not really a healthy way. It's like a protector of mine. Like I could really be sarcastic just to blow off serious shit. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But I love comedy. I love comedians, and what you guys are doing, working alongside like what is it called? The mobilizing. What is that?
Mobilize Recovery Across
Mobilize
Georgia. And
Recovery?
you can check out mobilizerecoveryacrossgeorgia.com. There's a full event listing. There's definitely going to be something
Yeah.
in your area.
It's so funny because I saw a dude, like I saw a friend of mine. He was like contemplating it. He's like, I think I'm going mobile, man. I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? I'm going mobile, I'm mobilize my recovery. That's when I first heard about it.
Oh, okay.
You know, I think Vickers was saying, I think about mobilizing my recovery, man. I was like, what is that? What does that mean?
Well, they say
You gonna
like
drive
what
around and tell
the
people you
wider the
sober?
base, the higher the point of freedom. We're throwing out a lot of stuff. People not in recovery be like, these dudes are on some.
So where are you going to be performing next? You, both of you. Where can we see you?
Well, right now, I'm working on. I'm in a sketch comedy troupe, so we're in rehearsals right now. Dynamic El Dorado. It's like
Awesome.
Second City style sketch. And so I've been working on that. Mostly, I've been just trying to like mobilize my own butt to let people know
Yeah.
about this event, and that's been very fulfilling. But I'm also going to be needing to get up on stage as much as I can. This will probably come out before or after Saturday, but I'll be at the Atlanta Comedy Theater Underground on a midnight show with a group called Controlled Trauma Urban Improv.
Dude, I love that.
and
That
so,
name
yeah.
itself.
Sketch, stand up, improv kind of mixed together. So I'll be there. And then in the future, we were asked by the ATL Comedy Awards if last year they did something highlighting mental health. And this year they're going to highlight comedy and recovery. And so there's going to be a podcast, Sober Boys, and also like a small show of Stand Up for Recovery Mini Fest. I think we're going to call the other
Baby
ones.
Fest.
Because I say fest because it's a celebration, like recovery is so much better when we're having fun.
Damn right.
So that'll be October, the middle of the month, but we'll have some links on standupnumber4recovery.com.
But the big date is September.
The big date is September
17th, baby.
17th. Yeah. Tickets
Sunday.
still available. A lot of people I know like to walk up day of, and that's cool. Would encourage people if they want to go ahead and lock it in.
Right. Help a player with his budget.
You know what I'm saying?
Line items. You know what I'm
Sit down,
saying?
fill up the
We don't have
seats,
any
boys
sponsors.
and
Or
girls.
I'm the sponsor of this event, apparently. If anybody wants to help sponsor, that would be cool. But yeah, man, it's all love and,
Let's try to make it out there, man.
Absolutely.
But hoping to have events like on all the big party holidays, like whether it's 420 or Cinco de Mayo or like not 4th of July probably because that's more family, but like St. Patrick's Day, maybe something kind of near Christmas
Tuesday.
and New Year's, Tuesday, any day that ends with Y.
Did I see you at a Ricky Davis event? Have you ever worked with you? I think that's where I saw
That's
you
where I
before.
met Christian. Shout
That's
out
where
to
he got
Ricky
the
Davis.
shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
and
no
then
doubt.
and he's rocking the shirt, and he saw Jeff.
Yeah.
And then
what's
Jeff
up
was
with
like,
the
"I gotta take
zone?"
the picture."
And then,
And then I was like, "Oh, because we talked at that event. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'd love to have you come do the show."
yeah,
And
that
then it
was
was
like
just-
what, like
no.
a
I
year,
remember that now.
a
That was
little
a couple
over a
years
year
ago.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, man, much respect to what you're doing here, man. Y'all subscribe. Most High Media, get that app.
You know,
Word.
Netflix of Recovery.
Make it
Yeah.
happen.
And my if you're on Instagram, at @standup4recovery, and that's also on Facebook at Stand Up for Recovery, LinkedIn. I think And if you're on YouTube, it's at Stand Up for Recovery Comedy. But yeah, all those links are on standup4recovery.com.
Yeah. Awesome. All right.
Thank you
You
all
got,
so
any, you
much.
got a
you,
final
dudes,
word?
man.
You look like you want to say something.
Dude,
What are you talking about?
No, well, I really appreciate you guys having us here, man. This has been dope. I've learned a lot tonight, I have to say. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be on Richie's show on the 17th of September, and then I'm just kind of like around working on my craft. You know, I go up in mics or. You know, occasionally I get a show and stuff. I'm still out here grinding, so.
Yeah.
And he's a new father too, so
Yeah.
Oh,
he's holding it down. He's getting a whole bunch of new material.
Bro, I got a 15-month-old, and he is, he's great for it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
How
right,
many
you did
months?
say that.
15 months.
15.
That's
So
right.
when do you stop counting months?
Dude, I don't know. I was thinking the same thing. I think like 18.
18,
maybe.
like the same.
Yeah, I ain't going to be like, I got a 36-month-old.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
I'm like 700 months old.
he's great, man.
Yeah.
He keeps me tired, though, I tell you what.
Yeah, but it's beautiful that we just did an episode on fatherhood and mental health and
I was listening
balancing
to it on the way
that.
over
Yeah. And so it's cool that you're sober and having a kid and you're able to, what you said, like be present
Right.
and really soak all that in. And it's beautiful. So thank you guys for listening to the Most High Show. Check us out at mosthighmedia.org and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Cool. Appreciate
That
it.
was awesome.